Hello and a very warm welcome to the Late Breaking F1 podcast presented by Harry Eade, Sam Sage and me, Ben Hocking, on a non-race Sunday. The worst kind of Sunday, Sam.
The worst kind of Sunday, said Ben to the podcast host. It sounded like a kid's story. Yeah. It was. No, yeah, it's terrible. The world is ending. Bring back Formula One. Although I was watching Indy Next, as they call it, Indy NXT.
Really?
I was earlier on today. They like a good crash in that, don't they? Like punting each other around. That was good fun. And then there's the Indy, which is actual Indy, which is just started, I think.
Yes.
So I'm missing that for this, which is joyous. So I hope you're happy, listeners. It's a good start to a podcast, actually, isn't it? Just telling everyone else what I should be doing instead of my time. Harry, you're here. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, don't worry, Sam, because they go for hours Indy races, especially around street circuits, because it's always like caution, another caution.
A lot of yellow flags.
Would you like another caution? How about a caution?
Buy one caution, get one caution free.
Exactly. So it will still be going by the time we finish recording this. I'm well. Are we well?
I think we're well.
Are you
Great
well?
news.
Get some water out of me because I'm well.
I thought you were.
Anyway, we are actually in a very good mood. We are well because we have some news. You'd have already seen this news if you follow us on any of our social channels at Late Breaking F1, if you don't already follow us on the various channels. But for those of you that don't know, we're doing a live show, our first live show in the United Kingdom. We are going to the lower deck at Greenwich Student Union, 2nd of July, Tuesday, 2nd of July. At the moment, at least, it's a Patreon gets priority in terms of the tickets. So if you're on our middle tier or our upper tier of Patreon, you'll already be able to buy tickets. For those of you not part of our Patreon, general sale goes live on Saturday, so Saturday 8th of June, so just under a week as we're recording this. Very exciting. We'll be doing a full British Grand Prix preview podcast. There'll be an opportunity for drinks afterwards. Would love to meet as many of you as possible. Have I missed any key details?
Please come.
Please come.
And that,
please.
Yes.
Please buy tickets. Not to be desperate. Please.
Yeah, I don't want to walk into a room with about 7 people there. I will just die of embarrassment. So, please.
Sam's threatening to. Sorry, so Ben sounds threatening to do his various characters, but just dot himself around the room like different outfits. Just to
like Mike from The Office. I will just do
yeah.
all of the show's characters. I will sit in different seats just to fill out the crowd at this point.
So again, if you are part of our middle tier or our upper tier, that's friend of the podcast or Hall of Fame tiers on Patreon, you'll already be able to buy tickets. Just go to the episode description of the latest bonus episode. All of the information will be contained there. But again, if you're not part of our Patreon, we get general sale on Saturday, 8th of June. Should we kick on with the show itself? Because we've got a lot to get through. We've got Pump the Brakes coming up later on. It's been a while since we've had one of those. Williams expecting more performance in future races. Aston Martin trying to poach Ferrari staff, possibly. But we'll start with the absolute mess that is Alpine. Because you might have thought, well, they haven't got anyone working there anymore. They can't lose anyone else. You'd be wrong. The operations director, Rob White, has left the team, which might be a kind way of saying he was fired. He was there for 20 years as the operations director, and according to the team, this is part of the ongoing task of restructuring. The team is thankful for Rob's efforts during his long career, where he led the championship-winning engine project in 2005 and 2006. We wish him the best in future endeavours. Sam, it's another great day to be Alpine.
Oh, I mean, at this point, they're going to have more tyres on the car than they actually are staff. I know we joke about how few that they've got in the team, but it's not looking good. They've got more celebrity investors, it appears, than they actually do core team members. And when you've got someone who's been around as long as, you know, the old bloke that's been there for 20 years, he's been there since they won the championship with Fernando Alonso twice. That's a heavy head of experience that you've ushered out the door. And, okay, you know, it's not being all a lovely sunshiny time at Alpine or what was Renault after that. It's not like they went on to win much more. They've had some controversy, of course, with Flavio Briatore and the fixing that went on in the Singapore Grand Prix. So Renault/Alpine have had some up and down moments. And since they came back into Formula One, when was that? 2016? 2015 they came back in?
It's
something like that.
It's 2 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
2016, I think.
16.
So like,
Yeah, it was 16. It's, it's also not been particularly glowing. They've had a couple of shining moments where, Daniel Ricciardo did a great job. He picked up a couple of podiums for them. Hulkenberg was strong there. They had Sainz, of course. So things haven't been great for Renault/Alpine now for quite some time. So whilst this is a loss of experience, and it's quite bizarre that they're almost drip feeding these departures, they're not just doing a mass clear out and a mass replacement, which I think is quite damaging for the culture and the morale of the team. I get why he's gone, because it's not like he's led them to mass success in history. It's not like he's one of these team engineers or team leaders that has got, championship after championship under their belt that can kind of go, well, hang on a minute. So if I had a good team around me, we'd be winning all the time. Doesn't really have that to back him up. So fair that that's gone, but it's another person, and you're not replacing these people rapidly, and you don't seem to be attracting new talent anyway. So it's a slippery slope for Alpine. If you're a driver, or you're a driver maybe to look for a new drive, why would you consider Alpine as an option, or at least a primary option? If you're desperate, maybe, but it's not looking good, Chief, on the overall package of a team. I don't understand how they think they can move forward in the constructors and in the way that the lineup is working with where they're finishing, if they can't even keep a team together and have an actual plan. They're a mess, and it's a bit of a state at the moment. And this is just another lump in the fire that is Alpine burning brightly at the moment.
Lump in the fire. That's an excellent expression.
What are your thoughts, Harry? Is this? Do you understand the move by Alpine, or do you not understand the move by Alpine?
You know how we mock Gene Haas because he doesn't like new people?
Fair.
I think we need to start mocking. And we mock Alpine anyway, but mock Alpine for.
We really need to start that. We don't do that anywhere near enough.
Hang on. Sorry, I should have rephrased that. But we should start mocking them for the fact that Alpine, you don't have to fire people all the time. It's just if something goes wrong, last weekend didn't go well for them, what should we do? Fire someone. Definitely fire someone.
Get Jack Doohan in to replace Esteban Ocon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're going to fire him as well.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's a worry that this just seems to be their go-to response now. Because I get firing people. You got to make changes. You got to to get to the top. They need to make changes, and I think Alpine do need to make changes. But the problem is, all they've been doing since they came back in 2016 is consistently and constantly make changes to that team. You don't have to keep doing that forever. Make some changes to get somewhere, like a McLaren, but don't just keep changing them all the time. It's not necessary. So it's a worry as well that they're just now they seem to be axing people that have been there for so long. And obviously, things change. Formula One has changed a lot since the success they mentioned, in 05 and 06. But they're not. This isn't the first person they fired who's got a lot of experience. Alan Permain jumps to mind here. Who was immediately snapped up by Visa Cash App. Yeah. So you don't let these experienced people go easily, and it just doesn't feel like that's the solution to Alpine's problems. Getting rid of the people that have actually brought them success before. So it just adds to the tomfoolery of Alpine at the moment. They're not flailing about. They got their arms up in the air, like don't know what to do, running around the paddock. This just feels like a bit of an stupid move. I just don't see why they felt like this was necessary.
Do you think that they have gotten confused between the Formula One Championship and the BBC show The Apprentice?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, every single race, they all get everyone into the boardroom, and at the end of the weekend, someone is going to be fired. And they say that before free practice one, and then after the race, sorry, X person, you're fired. That's how they run the show. They think they're on a TV show on the BBC, but actually, you're in a Formula One World Championship fight. Maybe
Bruno Fuming was so angry with Esteban Ocon, but then didn't fire him because he's like, oh well, we need two drivers, but he just had I've got to fire someone here.
Fucking addiction.
He just saw him walking past, was like, you're gone. See you later, mate. Sorry.
Here's your box. Pack your desk.
Just to be clear as well, now you've made the Apprentice reference, the only thing that I can visualize is at the back of a garage of Alpine, Karen Brady just with a notebook going, Shaking her head. Like that would 100% happen. Anyway, I think Alpine are somewhat leaning into the skid at this point because they are framing all of this as restructuring, and obviously they've made the decision here. But let's be clear, this didn't start as a result of Alpine making a move. Well, I guess if you were going all the way back to Otmar, you could say that, but the beginning of this year, both Matt Harmon and Dirk de Beer left the team. Like, they weren't fired, that they left. So, I don't know, it's the equivalent of me leaving late breaking and the two of you turning around and go, well, Ben leaving was part of our restructuring plan. It's like, well, no, I made the decision to go. It doesn't make any sense. That's what Alpine are doing here. They didn't make the decision to restructure. They had 2 key people leave earlier this year, and at this point, I think they've just gone, well, might as well just call it a restructure and keep going then. They're committed to a restart, a refresh, but as you've already mentioned, Harry, this isn't exactly brand new information, is it? They've gone through this hiring and firing process ever since they came back into F1 nearly 10 years ago, which is that's dire that they've nearly been back 10 years and achieved so little. But it's, what are they expecting? It's the equivalent of, and I know nothing about growing vegetables, as you'll soon see by this analogy, but I'm
interested.
If you are growing vegetables and the soil is awful and the vegetables turn out rubbish, you don't just plant new vegetables. The soil's the issue. Alpine, there are greater issues than just the people that you are hiring. There are issues like integrating the French half of the organisation and the English half of the organisation. I don't think they've ever fully worked that out. And as you say, Harry, I was going to bring up Alan Permain myself because he has a history of winning, and Rob White has a history of winning. It's not like it's an alien concept. It has happened before. So if they can achieve this sort of thing as individuals, then surely something organisationally is amiss. I'm going to say it's Trent Alexander-Arnold not, living up to expectations, but yeah, they could do more.
Seems fair.
Are you saying, Meng, that they keep firing the farmer, but actually they're trying to grow vegetables using soot and coal rather than soil?
Sure. I'm not going to go any further into vegetable chat because that's a dangerous field anyway. But
on the scarecrow.
Oh, come on, a dangerous field?
Oh!
Come on, Ben.
You can have that one for free.
You didn't even know you did it.
Yeah. Harry, is Flavio Briatore the answer?
No.
Oh, no.
Just to clarify, there are reports that he has been tapped up by Renault to become a special advisor. I'm not just asking that randomly.
What's he going to advise on? How to fix races?
Yeah. Can we rewind a second? Do you remember that time when Flavio Briatore got a lifetime ban from Formula One?
Revoked.
Do you remember how long it lasted?
Not very long, was it?
2010.
What is that?
Because it happened in 2009, didn't it? So,
yeah.
Goodness me. Gosh, again, I know I was just going on about you shouldn't just fire people. You shouldn't just get rid of people that have lots of experience. Flavio Briatore does have lots of experience, but also he's not the answer. Surely not. What's he going to advise? What are you going to advise, Flavio?
Recruitment.
If you get Ocon to put the car into the wall on this lap, we will win.
I mean, he did a good, in terms of, fixing a race, a great job. I'll give him that.
He smashed it.
He smashed it.
In fairness, if he were to fix a race for Esteban Ocon to help us win teammate wars, I'd allow it.
Yeah, fair.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. In fact, I'll take it all about. He is the answer.
Flavio fan base has turned up.
Yeah, again, this just feels like, Ben, to use your very good vegetable analogy, he's just another vegetable. If Flavio Briatore was a vegetable, what vegetable would he be?
Oh, God.
He's a naughty little turnip, isn't he?
A
Swede for other people. No.
Yes. Good shout.
My nan used to randomly walk around saying, I'm not a Swede, I'm a turnip. And I never understood it.
This has gone off the rails so
I know I let us on this path, but how have we got here?
I don't.
Anyway. It's your fault. You brought it up.
Sorry. Please, someone send in a Photoshop Flavio Briatore on a Swede or a turnip, please. Yeah, look, but it's just you're just like chucking. I've said this before. I think about Alpine, maybe Mercedes, but just chucking stuff at the wall and hoping something sticks. Chucking Flavio Briatore at this is not. Just doesn't feel like the answer. It just feels like a bit of desperation from Alpine's part because they just don't know what to do. And oh wait, we'll bring in someone who was disgraced from this team. Yes, we had some success with him, but it just doesn't seem like the right answer to me.
Yeah, I'm with you, particularly as a special advisor as well. By the sounds of it, if he were to come on board, it would be in recruiting people to both sides of the English Channel. But I just don't. I don't know in that role whether he'd have too much of an impact. Team principal, sure. I mean, he would have a lot of impact in that role, but that doesn't sound like the direction this would go in. What are your thoughts, Sam? I mean, Alpine have been asked about this, and they've been rather non-committal in their answer. They haven't outright said that talks have not been ongoing.
Who's shocked about Alpine being non-committal? They're basically the Harry Leader Formula One teams that know what they're really doing on themselves.
That is an insult. That is a massive insult.
I've burnt you there, mate.
He's called you out.
Not sure who it's worse for, Alpine or Harry.
I thought it was an insult to Alpine, but yeah, that's fair.
What are you doing, Alpine? To quote Harry Reid.
What are you doing?
Why are you bringing in Mr. Race Fixer into recruitment of all positions as well? You know, I get that. I don't know. They try to go down the route of, he's quite a well respected name. Is it respected? He's Fernando Alonso's manager at this point. He's not worked for another team directly since he got removed from Formula One. It's not like he brings buckets of relevant experience in the modern day and age of Formula One other than driver negotiations. Well, if all they're going to do is use him to negotiate one driver's contract, what's the point? There's plenty of other people that are more than capable of doing that. So what are you going to try and do with him? Bring in some engineers or something? Why? Why do you need him? Why bother with this? It's like they've just gone, get Flavio's number out the book again. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know what to do with ourselves. Call up Flavio. Last time we worked together, we got a race win, forgetting entirely what led to the circumstances of said race win. No, I think this is a really ridiculous situation they found themselves in. I think they've sunk down the pile so much that maybe no one else is interested in working for them. So they've had to kind of outreach to someone that maybe is looking for another bit of cash to do a job for a team that they kind of like. It's not a good look if this is where you're having to go with yourselves, Alpine. I don't think it's particularly respectful. And I think there's better options out there for you.
Before we go to our first break, just a quick question, and it doesn't sound like this is related in any way, but Mohammed Ben Sulayem very recently has changed his narrative on what Andretti should do to enter F1, suggesting that rather Andretti be an 11th team, Andretti should go and buy out a team that's already existing on the grid. Harry, do you think that team could be Alpine?
Yeah, it could be, because I can see the big wigs at Renault. They're going to get fed up with how this looks soon, because it looks terrible on them. Does not reflect, as you know, Alpine was obviously previously Renault, but it's still owned by Renault, and it's supposed to be an example of their sporty division of Renault Alpine, and they're making them look like morons most of the time. And I can just see Renault being like, do you know what? This isn't worth our money and time. We're going to sell up. And yeah, Andretti, that could be prime for Andretti to buy them out. So, yeah, it's kind of a worry. We obviously don't want that. We want Alpine and Andretti to be there, and we want Alpine to be good, obviously. But yeah, if they do decide to sell up, which if this carries on, I could see it happening. We've seen it happen before when results dry up, big manufacturers pull out, because what's the point in spending all that money, or even have your brand represented in such a bad way? So yeah, it could well happen, and that could be prime position for Andretti. But obviously, we want both, please.
Any chance that happens, Sam?
There's definitely a chance. I mean, the reason why Renault transitioned its brand to Alpine in the first place was, as Harry said, to bring awareness to their sports car division. And Alpine will set you back the same amount as what an entry-level Porsche will do if you were to go and buy one new. So they're not exactly cheap to run on the road, and they were trying to really raise brand awareness. This is something that I think Aston Martin did really, really well when it had that season where it suddenly started to pick up podium positions. Everyone knows what Aston Martin is, but they were kind of sinking back into the whole, we're just a James Bond car that people can't really afford, and our models are a bit of the same. And then Alonso starts picking up podiums, and sales through their retail side fly through the roof. Now, this is what Alpine were trying to emulate. This is what they were trying to succeed in by making the brand a Formula One brand. It has not gone to plan. You never see an Alpine being driven around the roads. You never see them kind of modeled elsewhere. I see Porsches on the daily. I see BMWs, Mercedes. I see Aston Martins. You do see these cars driving around. I've maybe seen 2 or 3 Alpines in my life out and about. The marketing exercise is going the wrong way for the team. It's not driving sales. It's not driving successful turnaround, and it's not driving positive recognition of their brand. It's in such a failed state that you're having to auction off bits of the team to celebrity influencers to try and raise funds, because Renault themselves almost look like they're wiping their hands of it a little bit or distancing themselves. But the whole point was to sell more sporty high-end cars, and you weren't just a family brand that is Renault. Ironically, I think their endurance program is actually doing very well. And I think they've got drivers like Mick Schumacher racing for them. And I think it is performing quite nicely. Different team entirely, different management team entirely. But they seem to be doing all right. The Formula One side is a bit of a mockery. And it's only going to lead to bad news for the overall sales of their car, which is the main objective. So I can see it happening. I would hate for it to happen. I'd rather they just get themselves sorted, or maybe go back to Renault and change everything over. But I want Andretti and Renault/Alpine on the grid. I want 11 or 12 teams. I'd be really devastated if the only way Andretti make it in is to buy someone else out.
Yeah, I don't think this will happen, just based on, I think Alpine are going to stick this out until 2026 at least, because, I mean, why wouldn't you at this point? You're going through the pain. You might as well see if there is something better on the other side. Alpine are fairly convinced that their power unit is significantly holding them back at the moment. That won't be the case, or shouldn't be the case, in 2026. If it comes to 2026, I think that will be a massive year for them, by the way, because if they are still where they are now in 26, I think patience will be running very low at that stage. But I think they'll at least wait it out to see what happens. We're going to take our first break of this episode. On the other side, we've got some chat on Ferrari and Aston Martin. Okay, everyone, warm welcome back to you. Ferrari F1 Technical Director Enrico Cardile has been linked with a possible move to Aston Martin. Autosport sources revealing that he has been approached by the British team. Harry, what are your thoughts on this and the potential that this could happen? Do you understand the move that Aston Martin are trying to do, if this is indeed true?
Yeah, I mean, an interesting one. I think Aston Martin have done pretty well in terms of signing some big names so far. Obviously, they've nicked a couple from Red Bull. His name has already escaped me. What's he called? The one who was like Adrian Newey's. Dan Fallows.
That's
there
the
we go.
guy. There you go.
That's the gangster. There's him.
No
There's
one expected me to answer that.
and but yeah, they're doing this sort of similar approach that the McLaren have done so far. So this would make sense, and I think probably is needed, because it's gone well for Aston Martin, better than when they first rejoined in 2021. But obviously they've lacked a bit of direction in terms of how they developed the car they've got, which was at the base of it a really good car. But since then they've struggled to keep developing it. So this, if it is true and they are signing this, it would A, make sense, but B, I think it's a very sensible move on their part, because I think they're building something here in a similar way that McLaren are or have been. They've also got all the new internal facilities at Silverstone as well, so they need the personnel to back it up. So I think if it does happen, it's a sensible move.
What do you think, Sam? How big would this move be?
I think it's yet to be seen, but I do love that Aston Martin have got their grubby little mitts out and they're out there thieving. And you know me, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love a little F1 team that goes out there nicking. They go, you know what? You come in the bag, over the shoulder. Yeah, a bit of burglary from.
We don't endorse crime, just to be clear.
I do. So well done. Because teams aren't doing it enough. Play the game. I've said it so many times. Play the game. And you can't fault Aston Martin. They are showing so much commitment since the Stroll purchase of the team and moving them into a real brand in Formula One. the facilities being built, Harry, that you mentioned are state of the art and they look fantastic. And you wouldn't put that level of investment in to just walk away after a year or so if it doesn't go your way. The hires of the likes of Dan Fallows and now potentially stealing off the likes of Ferrari is a sensational move. And I've stated that Aston Martin's weakness time and time again is not creating initially a good car. It's developing the car further, understanding where the positives in that car are and where its weaknesses are, and developing it in a direction that allows the car to develop naturally, that suits the strengths of those like Fernando Alonso. I mean, you can be competitive for 24 races of the season and not just 4 or 5 have an upgrade that you have probably copied from someone like Red Bull, have another 4 or 5 that you do well in, and then you fall off the pace again. Aston Martin need to innovate themselves. They need to find a direction of development that they feel really comfortable with, that is fast, that they own and control, and they're not studying too much off their rivals, because you can't lead the pack if you're copying someone else's ideas. There's no shame in it, but you're never going to be world champions. So I like this approach. I like that they're going out there and trying to get some big names in. I like that they're taking directly from rivals of those around them, and they are trying to build a team that long term will be able to create something very exciting and very quick. So all we've got to do now is get 2 drivers that can compete.
Yeah, they do. It's a real shame because Lawrence Stroll, his ambition in terms of hiring people from, we know he's made plays at Adrian Newey. Whether that comes to pass, who knows? Looks like he's making a play here. Like, his ambition to get people in is very clear. That needs to follow through with the lineup, which it isn't at the moment. I do think they need someone like this, because it does feel like at this point Aston Martin have reached something of a glass ceiling. And if we're looking at their performance right now, let's face it, they're not that far ahead of where they were towards the end of 2022, when Vettel was still there, right? I mean, they had some solid performances in the second half of that season. Obviously, then that led on to Fernando Alonso and that era, and they were doing much, much better at the beginning of that season. But they have regressed back, and it feels like, similar to your point, Sam, that they just need that one special individual, not in the driver lineup, they've already got that, but someone, not behind the scenes, but someone not in the car, just to elevate them in a similar-ish way to what McLaren have done. McLaren quite a few times threatened to break into the upper echelon. Obviously, years and years ago they were in the upper echelon, but at least in recent times they threatened it, and I feel like they might finally have actually broken through. I think the next few races will prove whether that's the case or not. Aston Martin need to make that same jump. Someone like Cardile could be the right call. I mean, he's got a lot of experience at Ferrari as a technical director. I'd be intrigued to see if this does come to pass. And fair play to Aston Martin for trying to make this work. Harry, how do you think this relates or doesn't relate to Adrian Newey? We know Aston Martin were one of the teams spoken about that could pick up Adrian Newey as and when Newey is available and wants to work again in F1. Do you think the hiring of someone like Cardile could, help motivate Adrian Newey to pick Aston Martin?
Yeah, I mean, maybe potentially. It does feel like as well that maybe Aston Martin I have no doubt they reached out to, or they approached Adrian Newey once that news was public that he was leaving Red Bull. But it seems like he's not going to go there if he's going to go anywhere. So maybe this is a tactic to try and persuade him to come over, but also B, there's no doubt about how good Adrian Newey is, but you can't build a team with just Adrian Newey. So this also just feels like, as we said, they're putting the building blocks in place. So I think they'd have gone for this anyway, or they would be going for this anyway, if despite the Adrian Newey situation. It might well do. Maybe it will help persuade him, but I don't think. I know this isn't about Adrian Newey, but it just feels like Adrian Newey is he's taking his time. He's not actually made any decisions yet. So, maybe this will help him, persuade him to come over to Aston Martin. But in all honesty, I think this is a move they're making. It's a sensible move anyway to be making, in spite of whatever Newey does.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, because we know that Adrian Newey, regardless of whether he goes, whether it's Aston Martin or somewhere else, he's not going to be, or we don't think he'll be, the head honcho, right? He's not going to be the person directing. Similar to what was the case at Red Bull, he was essentially a consultant, a contractor. He was not external, but certainly he was feeding into the team rather than leading the team. And I would expect that to be the case wherever he goes. So from Aston Martin's perspective, it makes sense to chase car dealer, because they can say, you know, if the Adrian Newey stuff doesn't happen, which is highly likely, let's face it, they've got someone great anyway in the door. But also, if Adrian Newey knows that whoever he partners with next, he needs to trust the people that are going to almost execute his ideas. Similar to, again, to what he's had at Red Bull, where he's got a couple of people that he really trusts to work alongside with. If he's currently considering Ferrari as one of the top options, which we believe is the case, and you take away one of the key components of what Adrian Newey would trust, then surely that does put something in your favour at least. So I think it's a smart play. I agree with you, Harry. Regardless of what happens or doesn't happen with Adrian Newey, it's a smart play anyway. Your thoughts, Sam?
I disagree with you both.
Oh, gosh.
I know. Don't get it a lot, do we? I think that car delay is being available is entirely because of Adrian Newey being the favourite to go to Ferrari. And I wouldn't be surprised if there had been conversations internally to bring Adrian Newey in, where he has said, I want a technical director that I can trust and I can work with properly and I have faith in. And I wonder if Cardelay isn't who he wants to be around. I wonder if it's, you know what, I want to bring someone in myself, or I want to advise on someone to fill the role or to build a team around, because I think that we could do X, Y, and Z. And I wouldn't be surprised if Cardelay's agency or people that he know have circulated that information to some other teams and gone, hey, there's a chance that Adrian Newey is going to Ferrari. We don't know how viable my position is going to be here if he walks through the door. What are my options? And Aston Martin have gone, we can't have Adrian Newey. We'll have someone who's pretty darn good anyway, and we'll snap him up. So I still think this is very beneficial for Aston Martin. But I actually think that, unlike you guys who are going, maybe it's a lure to get him in the door, I think it might be more he's going out the door because Adrian Newey is about to walk through it. And Ferrari have gone, it's a lot of money. We need to invest in this properly. We'll build a team with Adrian and Lewis and Charles. I think Ferrari are trying to build up the building blocks and putting it together. And I think they want to rely on Adrian Newey to help them do that. So I think he'd be great, Aston Martin, Carly. I think he'd be really, really good. But I do wonder if actually it's because Newey has maybe secretly said, can we get someone else in? Someone who I really trust and want to work with. I wouldn't be surprised. He's got that pulling power.
Interesting. Odds are as well, whenever this is resolved in terms of who goes where, we're going to completely forget we've had this conversation and we won't remember who's right. But someone, whenever things happen, let us know who was actually correct on this. We'll take our second break at this point. On the other side, we've got a bit on Williams. Okay, welcome back. A little bit now on Williams, because James Vowles had some interesting comments after the Monaco Grand Prix. We know that Alex Albon, of course, scored 2 points at the Monaco Grand Prix, the first points that Williams have scored all year. And James Vowles said that we have huge amounts of performance to come for the rest of this season, which are pretty bold words, Sam. What do you make of them, and what are some realistic targets for Williams going forward?
They are bold words. They are big claims. And it doesn't feel like Daddy Vowles to say this kind of comment without being certain that actually it's going to help them. He's been very methodical in his speeches publicly. He's been very good at calming the audience and the F1 community and saying that, Williams are here to slowly progress and we're going to make our way up. But that has backfired so far this season. They have clearly taken a step back. So for him to come out with such a bold statement is a real change in form. It's a real change of tact. So I'm somewhat inclined to believe him, because for the most part, he does seem very genuine, very front-facing, very heart on his sleeve a little bit, actually, as a team principal. And he says it how it is. And I don't think he would come out publicly promising so much improvement if he had been told by his engineering team, it's not that good, James. It's all right, but it's not that good. So, I believe him. And I believe he knows what good looks like, especially after working so long with Mercedes. What could they achieve if it does go to plan? If they take big steps forward, if they feel really confident in how the car is going to perform at a lot of tracks, there's no reason why Alex Albon could not be competing regularly for that kind of 9th, 10th spot that we've seen Yuki Tsunoda and Nico Hulkenberg regularly filling out themselves week in, week out. If they can lock down at least 1 point almost every Grand Prix after they've had the majority of their upgrades deployed, I think that's a good step forward for the overall rest of this season. It gives them a chance to kick on for 25 and then for the new regulations in 26. I think if he comes out with this speech and Albon is still driving around in 12th, 13th place, but a bit further away from the cars behind, it's not really good enough. There'll also be a lot of sponsorships and a lot of PR and press riding on this. And obviously that helps stakeholders and shareholders, and it helps drive further sponsorship. And we're seeing a bit of a revitalization of Williams. It will be a shame to overpromise and underdeliver now when they've been so good at taking these steps forward and working as a team to rebuild. I think we are going to see something good. I'd be very surprised if James Vowles puts the team's progress in jeopardy just to try and get a good PR statement in place. So yeah, if they can start finishing 9th, 10th on the regular, I think that would be a good step for this season.
Your thoughts on those comments, Harry, and what they could possibly achieve for the rest of this year?
I mean, yeah, they're nice and punchy from James Vowles. So that in James Vowles we trust. I believe him because he's normally very good at, as you say, Sam, very good at tempering expectations here, but he's not doing that at all. So they must be very, very hopeful or certain that these upgrades are going to work. I enjoy it when teams like this. I hate the Toto Wolff approach of we're going to be terrible. I know that he doesn't do that as much anymore because they are terrible, but
he doesn't do it now. It's justifiable, yeah.
But I like it when we had it with Sainz and Leclerc saying the Ferrari upgrades were going to be the most amazing things ever seen to humankind. And obviously Freddie Bass had to tell them to simmer down
Really
a bit.
back in, lads. Come on.
But I like it. I like it when people, drivers and teams come out with a bit of punchiness. But yeah, clearly they are confident these are going to work. In terms of realistic targets, I think, yeah, as you say, Sam, a big amount of performance it's not going to shoot them up the grid, but it might just be enough to start jumping into that. Because at the moment they are on the fringes, aren't they? Around that bottom end of the top 10 or top half of the bottom, doesn't matter. But they are, but they are fighting for those like 9, 10, like 10th, 11th, 12th spots at the moment. And this might just be enough to knock them into the points a bit more regularly, which for Williams is kind of position they were in last year. I saw Albon, I think, defending this a couple of weekends ago, saying they're in a similar position they were in 2023. I think it's probably not quite as good as it was in 2023, but he's right in that they got better as the season went on as they developed the car. So I guess this is what they're hoping for again now, and it only takes a few good results for them to move up the order. So yeah, this is probably what they're aiming for.
If they're to be believed, the weight of the car is holding them back so much at the moment. I think James Vowles said it was something in the region of 4 tenths that they think they are losing just because the car is overweight. And we know, even from Alpine, I know they're not exactly brilliant now, but they're far better than they were at the beginning of this year, and that's largely because of the amount of weight that they've been able to save on the car. It also makes sense with Monaco, because Monaco is pretty much an outlier and the one circuit so far that we've been to where that doesn't hurt Williams as much as other tracks. And I feel like we saw with Alex Albon what that Williams, at least right now, is capable of. And that is roughly similar to what we had last year, which was, just about squeaking into Q3, putting together an all right race and scoring a couple of points. What they need, obviously, they just need to get that car weight down and the performance that comes with it. If so, then maybe they can get in that Minardi battle. I think that's realistic based on what they've done. To be very brutal to Williams, I really hope that the performance does come through, and I do believe James Vowles, and I think it will come through. Being brutally honest, that'll bring them back to where they should have been at the beginning of this year, because they had something to work with last year. And I think they went backwards over the winter break, or at least they didn't go forwards in the same way that other teams did. I just want to temper, not expectations, but also if they do turn this around a bit and they are fighting the likes of Yuki Tsunoda, I'm not going to go massively praising on it, because I feel like that's probably where they should have been in Bahrain. And that might be a bit brutal. The other thing they need is just to get their drivers in a rhythm, because we've had, Alex Albon we remember the crash at Australia. Obviously, he's been on the better side of the garage in that regard. But Logan Sargent, and I've said my thoughts on Logan Sargent as a driver many times, so I won't go into that now. But the team have failed him to this point in the season, in my view, because he couldn't race in Australia through something that wasn't his own fault. He hasn't been able to get in a rhythm because he's been driving a third and a fourth chassis, and at Monaco he didn't have the same upgrades that Alex Albon had. It does feel like, and I'm not saying it would go much better if he was fighting with two hands, but I think he does have one hand behind his back at the moment, Logan Sargent, and they just need to ensure that both of their drivers are getting into a rhythm, and then maybe they're going to have some chance at some lower scoring points.
Doesn't smell of a team that's got ambition behind them and is able to make climbing up the grid possible when one of their drivers can barely get the machinery to get around the track properly. It's not a great sign. So hopefully these upgrades are applied to both cars and they come into the kind of next third of the season swinging.
Yeah, and that's the whole point you've got Logan Sargent, right? Is that you think potential-wise he's got something. Like I said before, I disagree. I don't think he has that potential, but Williams do think he's got that potential. In which case, you just have to give him every tool in your arsenal to succeed. And to this point, they haven't. So I'm not quite sure what they're expecting of him when it doesn't feel like a fair fight for him at the moment.
Agreed.
Let's move on to something we did discuss on Wednesday, but there have been a few extra developments since then, which is Esteban Ocon following the Monaco Grand Prix. Now, we know that Ocon and Gasly's lap 1 crash led to the creation of the character Bruno Fuming. He had some choice words and threatened consequences. Esteban Ocon has since defended his driving. He's had a lot of criticism over that incident. I won't read out everything that he's said because...
Be another podcast, mate.
Exactly. He came out with a lengthy statement on social media on this. But a couple of the things he said he was... He's received many messages of support, but he's been deeply saddened by the amount of abuse and negativity that he's received. He said that he's been lucky enough to race alongside talented and experienced teammates, and that as teammates we often start very close to each other on track, and he's had his share of incidents as a result of that. And I guess the most important thing that he said as part of this statement is that he looks forward to competing in Montreal, which can put to bed the speculation of whether he was going to be benched or not. Harry, what did you make of the response of Esteban Ocon?
I mean, firstly, if any abuse that's been, put towards Esteban Ocon on social media is, absolutely not fair or right, and it shouldn't be that way. I think valid criticism is fine, but you can't just send horrible remarks to him because he had a bad race. In terms of what he's saying, yeah, I said in the review of Monaco, I think, or was it, I don't know, previous episode, where Ocon's a great driver, but there's got to be a point where he looks at himself and thinks, well, I am the common denominator here. And I know he's explaining himself by saying, they're often on track at the same time, but these other people that he's raced against, Alonso, Ricciardo, etc., they're not often having incidents with their teammates, whereas Ocon always seems to be having incidents. So it's a tricky one. And again, I respect him for coming out and defending himself like this, and I think it was right. And as I say, the abuse he had is not fair or right at all. But I do think maybe he does just need to have a little word with himself about how he drives again, because it's only with teammates. He doesn't seem to have incidents with lots of other drivers, but with teammates, which is a bizarre thing. But there just seems to be something about when he comes up against a teammate that there's like I don't want to say a red mist, because I don't think he drives like that, but it's just something changes in his attitude to how he defends. That yeah, I don't know. It's a strange one, but it's almost like he's got a bit of a something on over his head about a teammate when he comes up against a teammate, that he must not let them pass, or he has to beat them. And I know that is an important factor in Formula One. You have to beat your teammate, but not of this, sake of crashing into them all the time. So yeah, I respect him for coming out and saying this and backing himself, but I do think he does need to have a little bit of a look at how he approaches racing teammates.
Because he does, for this incident very specifically, he does say that it was his fault and he's owned up to it. But do you think his lack of admission that it's not an ongoing issue is worrying?
Yeah, and that's my point. And fair enough, he admitted that it was his fault in Monaco because it was his fault in Monaco.
I think he had the apex. I don't know.
Oh, come on.
I swear to God.
But yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. I think just he needs to. It's a difficult one because Formula One drivers are built on an unwavering sense of self-belief, and if you're not going to be an F1 driver, exactly, you're never wrong.
Yeah,
and if I don't know, if we'd come out and he'd been like, do you know what? Actually, I've messed up all these years. I've had incidents with teammates. It's all been on me. I think we'd all be like, well, I don't think you need to say that out loud, Esteban. But I do think he just needs to bit much. But I do think he just needs to have a little review of how he approaches team. I mean, he can't do anything about how it's happened before, but just a little internal review and you know, like I said, he is the common factor in all of these incidents here. So, and again, I'm not saying they're all his fault, but I think it's just the way he races his teammates.
What do you think, Sam?
Oh, this is such a bizarre situation to see, especially this early in the season. Firstly, Alpine, I think they've aired their laundry, their dirty laundry out in public. And I don't think any of this needed to be done on social media, in the press ring, or anything like that. I don't think this is required. And I think it is a real example of how far down the river of poo Alpine are at the moment, where it just, nothing works. It's all a bit crap and you don't really seem to know how to handle a situation. I think this is just another example of that. On Esteban Ocon, I feel like he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think he came into the sport and he's that driver, much a bit like Lewis Hamilton, I suppose, where he came from a very poor background. His mum and dad gave up absolutely everything that they had. I think they sold their home, they sold their car to make sure that he could carry on racing. So I do wonder if he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder of, I've always had to do more. I've always had to go further. I've always had to give something up. And so he wants to always be on top of the situation. I don't blame him for that at all. If anything, I find that quite motivating. I think it could be a great story. The issue is, I think he interprets it the wrong way a lot of the time because Esteban comes across as a really lovely bloke. And I feel like if you weren't racing against him, like if he came on the podcast, I bet he'd be lovely. I bet he'd be really nice. And I feel like he is really...
Esteban.
Yeah, go on. I challenge you, Esteban. Come on the show. I do. I think he's a lovely bloke. He's always got a lovely little smile on his face, and But I think that when it comes to teammates, he's got this competitive streak in him that he can't interpret in the right manner. And it's not just, okay, there's an incident. Because actually, if you look at the actual incidents he's had through his career, there's not that many. It's not like we're talking tens of incidents here. There's 4 or 5 across his entire career, which... yeah, that's still not good, but it's also not breathtakingly huge that you think, crikey, Esteban, stop driving into your teammate. I think what is the problem for Esteban is his off-track handling of incidents with his teammate. It is the red mist. It's the inability to accept responsibility, which he has done. It's the fact that his teammates so regularly seem to fall out with him, and maybe management recognize this and go, this was your fault, and it wouldn't be a problem if you just put your hands up earlier and said, I made a mistake, I'll learn from it, this won't happen again. And actually, we wouldn't have all this going on. So he's a very talented driver. He's had, for the most part, a very solid season. But he's just got to rein in the attitude and the competitive streak when it comes to dealing with the person who, you're in a world championship winning car. You're driving around for 13th place most of the time. Work together. Work as a team. If George Russell and Lewis Hamilton could do it in the Mercedes, you're definitely capable of doing it in the Alpine further back. Carlos Sainz even talking about how he wouldn't give up. He'd give up anything to make sure that Charles won Monaco the other day, right? There's a level of working together. I think that's
ridiculous, by the way.
I agree. I do agree.
That is ridiculous.
I do agree, and maybe that's another topic for another time.
Maybe.
But the point is, that's the attitude that they're working with in a car that is going to win races. Esteban, you're sending it down the inside on lap 1 on your teammate when you're barely getting a point across a whole season. You do need to change your outlook and how this reflects on you. Not every race makes you a great or rubbish Formula 1 driver, and losing to your teammate one time doesn't mean that you're going to get fired in a race. Crashing into them might mean you get fired in a race. So, yeah, just change your perspective. I think be that nice person that you are away from Formula 1 and just realise you've made it. You're here. Just show off your talent, realise you're part of a team, and deliver that as a unit rather than as an individual.
Yeah, firstly, thank goodness the talk of a switch at Montreal is over, because
Ridiculous.
it was stupid, and I still think it was poor of Bruno Fuming to leave that open to speculation. I don't understand, because now he's in a spot and the organisation is in a spot where clearly they're not switching at Canada, but they have promised consequences. So either they're not going to deliver on something that they've said, which doesn't look good, or they're going to have to think of something else. I don't know what they plan to do, but that's the whole reason that you don't, minutes after a collision has happened, come out and speak to the media and be so, I don't know, blasé with the comments. It's why you just say, look, we'll handle this internally, we'll handle it privately, at which point do whatever you think is best. But I'm glad that conversation is at least over. I mostly agree with what you both said already, to be honest. I do think his upbringing into F1 does impact this, and I do think he does need to review the way that he races teammates. It doesn't sound, based on this statement, as if he thinks it's an ongoing issue, but at the same time, I kind of acknowledge what you said, Harry, which is, if he did think it was an issue, would he outright say it in a statement like this, or just deal with that privately as well, which I think is fair. I think, and I'm not saying this is entirely fair, but I do think it has got to this point in the season where Esteban Ocon, if we're talking about what's happened this year for him, he has turned up at the beginning of the season in what is a very important contract year for him and been given a tractor. Not an F1 car, a tractor. He has delivered great performances in said tractor, particularly at the beginning of the season when it was at its worst. He has, at all times as well, and we spoke about it multiple times, he remained so optimistic and positive early in this season when he had absolutely no right to be. He was delivering great performances and essentially getting nothing for it. In points-wise, getting nothing. As soon as, and he's been one of the drivers of the season, in my opinion. Our power rankings on Patreon back that up as well. And we get to this race, Monaco, he has a stinker, he has a horrible incident, and suddenly everyone is focusing on that incident because it was with his teammate. And it's fair enough, but I can understand Esteban Ocon's point of view at this point to say, I have done so much for this team to this point. I am taking this car to places it doesn't belong, and I have one incident with a teammate, and that's all anyone can talk about and sends me abuse over. I can understand his frustration that that's the thing that people focus on. I'm not saying that it's fair. The incident was 100% on him. It was an awful error, and he does need to review the way that he races teammates. But yeah, I'm glad at least the Montreal speculation is over at this point. Let's take our final break on this episode. On the other side, we're going to play Pump the Brakes.
Yay! I've thought of one.
Okay, welcome back. It's been a while, but let's pump the brakes. I don't know what word belongs behind that bleep.
Hey.
Because your opinion's hay.
I thought because you're a pig in hay.
Yeah, you're a pig.
Oh, okay. That makes
Did you
sense.
think you're saying opinions?
Yeah, I thought you were saying, and your opinions, bleep.
I mean, that actually makes a lot more sense.
Let's listen again.
Yeah,
folks.
we
Is
follow
it
this
pig
again.
or opinions? Yeah, it's opinions, not a pig. I always thought it was a pig.
I always thought it was a
That's
pig.
crazy. I thought
Because you're as happy as a pig in.
I thought it was pig. You know what? I'm going to carry on as if it's pig.
Fair.
My mind's been blown. That's wild.
Pump the brakes. We give an opinion. Each of us gives one opinion, and it's a very simple game. The other two have to determine whether, actually, that's an all right opinion. You can keep on thinking that, or whether they should pump the brakes because they're being an idiot. Sam, you were so happy that you thought of one, so I'll let you go first.
Yes, I thought of it about 6 minutes ago. I think that Yuki Tsunoda has done enough to be given a trial as the next Red Bull driver alongside Max Verstappen and should be moved up next season.
When you say trial, you just mean he should be moved up and given a...
Yeah, he should be given a chance, right? Yeah, give him a chance. Give him a year, see how it goes.
Harry, what do you think?
Pump the brakes.
Oh.
It's that's a tricky one as well. Well, Well, I let Ben go. Sorry, you go next, Ben.
Yeah, pump the brakes.
Bring on the gunge.
I think that Perez would beat Tsunoda.
Do I have the gun?
Oh, I've got it if you don't, mate.
Oh, two soundboards.
You go, Ben.
I got it.
There it is. The world's longest sound effect.
Longer than the jingle.
With you two having soundboards, I kind of feel like Jar Jar Binks when I'm stood between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn, and I'm Jar Jar Binks. Like, you've got a lightsaber on each side, and I'm just, Misa do a podcast. You know, that's how it feels.
I like that you're calling Qui-Gon Jim rather than Jin.
Qui-Gon Jimmy!
Really?
I like that.
Right. I'm with you, Ben. I think Perez will beat him, but Tsunoda's he's done a really good job this year, but it's taken 21, 22. Yeah, this is his 4th year, right? It's taken him a long time to get here, and I do worry that it's a bit little. I don't know. Maybe that's been a problem with Red Bull drivers.
Of the young driver program, giving him the time.
It's a fair point, but I do think I'm not sure I could base it off year 4 being good. I think what's happened before is just it's not been excellent for Tsunoda. But I see your point. That's a tricky one.
All right. Well, Sam has been gunged. Him and all of the Gungan army.
The Gungan army, more like.
That works well.
Oh, Misa covered in gunge.
Oh, all of the. All of the Phantom Menace references at this point.
Yeah, excellent.
Harry, what's your one?
My one is that Formula One should never have abandoned. Abandoned isn't the right word, but should never have stopped the 2009 style regulations, and by that I mean the Formula One cars we had, where we had the quite skinny tall rear wings and the wide front wing. And I think since then, because the thinking behind it was that the cars were going too slowly, but that was, I think, some a multitude of reasons. One of them being the massive hybrid engines that we had in the cars by the time we got to 2016. But the thinking was we need cars that are faster again, so they got rid of that regulation. But I think since then the racing's got worse. And what prompted me to say this was I watched on YouTube the extended highlights of the Chinese GP from 2010, which is a good little race.
Good race.
No DRS then, and I appreciate it's wet, but I was watching it. I was just like, I think the racing was better then than it is now. Like the car, they've got less downforce, and I think we've just gone in the wrong direction. I'm not saying it was a perfect formula, but I just think actually it's not as good as it was. Sorry, that's a really long one, but off you go.
Just for reference, are you including anything to do with engines within this?
Yeah, so I say 2009 because the hybrid thing. That's 2014, but obviously the cars in terms of aerodynamics are fairly similar. But I'm not counting that. I'm going with what they were like in 09, 10, 11, 12 that time.
What do you think, Sam?
There's a lot of it I agree with. So I don't think I can pump the brakes. I wouldn't have it exactly the same. I wouldn't say go back to 09. I think there's a lot of elements that I would look to take. I would want smaller, lighter cars. I would move away from the heavier engines. I'd move away from the battery power entirely and just move to the renewable fuels that Seb's been running. And that's where I would differ, I think, a lot from what you're kind of suggesting in the 2009 regs. But I do agree that a bit less downforce, smaller cars, run the renewable fuel. I think there was a lot of fun. We had one of our best seasons ever in that period of Formula One. But I do think overall, the general racing, the general formula is better now than it was back then. But I do think that there is a middle ground to be had. And I do think those lighter, smaller, more difficult to drive cars are where Formula One should be. I don't care about the perfect lap time. I'd rather it be 3 seconds a lap slower, but we get way more competitive racing. For me, that's where I want to be.
Well, again, from that same race, it was a battle between Hamilton and Schumacher, which we didn't get much of actually when Schumacher returned. But it's a good little battle if no one's watched it before. Obviously, 2 7-time world champs going at it. But there's a bit where they come up the hairpin, and I think Schumacher's defended from Hamilton, and Hamilton's like, and I appreciate it's a bit damn. He's like power sliding his way out of the hairpin. I'm like, I mean, it looks cool, but I was like, yeah, there's like not a lot of grip in these cars. Like, it's still obviously an F1 car, it goes quickly, but I was like, let's have that. It looked really difficult to drive. More of that, please.
Yeah, I think your shout is a good one. As a base concept, I think that was very good. So I will not tell you to pump the brakes.
Yay.
Lucky you.
Which
Like
just leaves
Jedi
me.
wit.
Oh, we're back to Phantom Menace again.
Sorry.
My pump the brakes. I don't think Oscar Piastri is a top 10 driver in F1.
Oh, I need to work this out in my head now of where I think he sits. No, this is good dead air for a podcast. Well done. Ben, can you run through? Yeah, Ben, I want you to run through where he sits.
So I don't think he's better than his teammate, Norris, Alonso.
Yep. Right.
Both Red Bulls, both Mercedes, both Ferraris, both Alpines, and Nico Hülkenberg. So I think maybe 12th I'd put him.
I don't think I can disagree. I might have him a bit higher, but maybe he's better than Hülkenberg, but actually I don't know at the moment. Hülkenberg's having a belting year. I don't think I can pump the brakes on that one, annoyingly.
Yeah, I don't outright agree with you, but equally, I can't categorically make the statement that I disagree with you. You know, I can't sit there and be like, your opinion is so wrong that you should stop having it. So, no, I think he's definitely not top 7, top 8. So I think that's where the debate comes in of do you have him 10th or 9th or do you have him kind of 11th or 12th? Yeah, no, I think you got away with that one.
I'd have him 18th, just below Yuki Tsunoda.
All right, in that case, get off my show.
I give him the Red Bull drive.
Sorry, Sam.
Both the Red Bull drive.
I'm not joining you in Gun City.
I love it here. Population, me, and Dave Benson Phillips.
No, I'm not going to go into it.
Mr. President.
Right. Before we say anything else awful, Sam, do you want to get us out of here?
Yeah, Misa do the outro. No, that's it. We're done.
No.
Stop. It's done. Folks, buy tickets to the live show, please. It's coming out on the Saturday. All right, the 8th. That's general sale. If you want early access, because they're definitely going to fly off the shelves, then you should go and subscribe to Patreon to get early access, and then you can get them right now. And we'd love to see you in person. We'd love to have drinks with you, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, whatever you fancy. And we'd love to have a lovely time doing the British GP preview. Please come. Join the Discord, links in the description. You can get involved in race weekends as well with your submissions. Follow us on social media, Late Breaking F1 everywhere. You can watch us on YouTube, Late Breaking F1 as well. The subscriber number is going up. Hooray! And then other than that, we're on anywhere, we're everywhere. Wherever. Come to Thruxton. We're going to Thruxton next week. So
yeah, very true. And we'll all be together for the Canadian GP review.
And we'll be doing Beer We're Breaking on that weekend as well.
Big weekend.
Big weekend for late breakers. Anyway, have a lovely time. And we'll see you in the midweek for the Canadian preview. In the meantime, I've been Samuel Sage.
I've been Ben Harking.
I've been Harry Eads.
And remember, keep breaking late.
Misa, go now.
Oh, God.